So today we're going to talk about coyotes, and I've got a project where I'm making a coyote blanket, and I've got quite a few coyotes I have to prep. So characteristics of a coyote. So they usually come cased from the dressers, which means they're shut down the middle. So you have to open up that belly to use them. And they, have the face on. So depending on what you're going to do, sometimes you take the face off, sometimes you leave it on. If you're going to make a mountain man hat, and if this had, nice legs on it, they've cut the legs off, so it's just the leg hole openings on the front. But the characteristics of a coyote are, underneath this front paws, there is a lot of bare area. So we have to cut that out. And you can see on this side, it's the same thing. So what we're going to do is, first we're going to split the skin down the center. We're going to take the face off. Then we're going to come and we're going to get rid of these spots underneath the front legs. And also down here, this one has a real peachy color belly. So we're going to have to get rid of that too. And it's got, they always have a large bare area in the, right underneath the hind legs. So going up towards, a good portion of the skin. So we're going to fix that. And it involves a couple of different ways, but we're going to repair that out. The other characteristics of a coyote are that this center back is real spiky. It's a very long, coarse hair, and it, you can see how it just kind of like sits up at attention, depending on how you're working it. Now, some people leave it in, and some people take it out. I think that depending on what your project is, kind of like depends on what you're going to do. The easiest way to take it out is once you've got your pelt opened up, you mark your center line. Like this one is opened up. I'm going to come in, I'm going to mark my center line all the way down. And then literally what you do is from like right probably, just before the front paws, because here's the front paw, is you take a ½ inch out of each side down to where the definition starts lightening up. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to go all the way down to the tail. Sometimes it all depends on the coyote. But it gets rid of that really dark, spline, stick-up, spiny, spiky hair. And, sometimes it lays flat and it's okay like on a blanket. But if you're going to do a bunch of, like, ruffs for a hood, I like to take that out. So the next step is we're going to open our skin up. And what you do is, I've got one set up here. Take a piece of cardboard, or I have a skin board, and you just shove that up the center all the way to the top. I've got my head cut off on this one. And then what we're going to do is we're going to slice this right down the center belly. So some slice it from the bottom up. I think it's easier to slice it from the top down. So what you want to do is you want to take your paws and open those towards the front side so you don't get those in the way. And you're going to see the definite hair length and the characteristics of this skin going all the way down. And you just follow that with your knife. So what I like to do is start it with a nick right in the center, and then I literally hold the skin up, and I'm going to do this without doing it, but I just literally run my blade of my knife blade up all the way down, and you're going to get right near the bottom right here, and you're going to get the pee hole, whatever. But you have to go around that usually, and then right to the end. So then your skin is split. And I just think it works better for me doing from the top down. After you've got that done, then what we're going to do is we're going to come and we're going to open these leg holes. So when I open the leg holes, let's see here. So when I open the leg holes, there's a characteristic where you'll see it once you open them up, where this comes down and it's real gold. So this is the top of the skin. And what we're going to do is we're going to cut out this thin belly here. And I already did that. So it's not a thin belly. I'm talking about armpit. So this is right under the armpit. So you come up and go down maybe about 5 or 6 inches from that front paw. And you can see where the hair length turns color. And you want to like fold that and see where the definition is where there's no hair. So once you've figured that out, you can either mark the backside with your pen or chalk or whatever, but you come down to like a tip. And then this is the belly side, so this would have been my center belly. So then what you do is you come down and you do the same thing on this side. You mark that area that's real thin, and once you've got that figured out, I might have to take a little bit more out of this. Once you've got that figured out, what you're going to do is you're going to join this up by Fur Machine, and it'll give you a much nicer look. So I don't have quite enough taken out on that, but we'll get that factored back, and I'm going to take a little bit more out, probably about another 1/4 to 1/2 inch on this side, and from like nothing right here to probably about 1/2 inch right there down to nothing. So then I join that up. So that's what that wedge looks like taken out, and then I join that up by Fur Machine. Now the other thing is that coyotes have nipples, and sometimes they feel like a little dry scale. Sometimes they're real worn in that area. So you want to find those. There's usually 6. Here's one. Here's one. And you just want to find those, see what the condition of the fur is like underneath. And I just snip those out, usually with the scissors, in kind of like a long football shape. And then I close those up by Fur Machine. Now when we get down here to this flank area where that's real thin, what you're going to do is you're going to come here, and you can see right where the hair starts to change. So we're going to mark this crease line right here where it comes down and then goes here, and then it goes to that flank of that back paw. See how it kind of like follows that line? Now I'm just going to open that up, and then once after I get it opened up, I'll show you the shape that I cut out. So what we're literally going to do is, I do it 2 different ways, but we're going to take out, like, I kind of want to call it a wedge. We're going to take out this area right here going down and then kind of coming back up into that belly area where there's no fur. Some of these coyotes are pretty dense in the areas. Sometimes you don't have to do much. Some of them are so bald, it's like you almost have to have a scrap bucket of stuff that you've saved from other coyotes to be able to patch in. But if you don't, this is going to be a huge void when you go to nail this out. And you don't want that. So, I'll be back and show you what I've cut out of this and give you a better idea in a minute. So I want to show you that area again that I'm cutting out right behind the front leg opening. So I kind of marked it on this fur side with my pen because I'm going to cut it out anyway. But here's your leg opening, and you see how you've got this gold area right here in the coyote? They all have these same markings. So I'm going to come from like the tip of this gold area, and I'm going to trim out right down along this area, down, like I said, about 5 or 6 inches. And I've got it marked with an ink pen so you can kind of see how I'm doing it. Then I'm going to come to, this is the belly side. Then I'm going to come to this side of that front paw. So this is the back side of the front paw going down towards the belly, and this is the front side of that paw, and I'm going to cut this from just a little bit above it, and I'm going to come down at an angle, like this, and cut this at an angle like this up, not straight across, but at an angle up. And you can see the area I've got marked with my ink pen that I'm going to take out. It's better to be a little shy than too aggressive when you're cutting. You can always come back and cut more later, but you can get the idea of what I'm taking out. So after I've got this marked, then I also marked it on my leather side, so you can kind of see what we're doing. And opening that up, taking this wedge out, just down like that. I mean, these are kind of crunchy up here, you can trim a little bit of this off because we're not going to use that anyway. But yeah, that's how I like to do it. I like to come up at an angle here, and then when I sew it back, this will be cut off at an angle going this way, so it gives a pretty good opening and easy to join up, and the hair length matches really good. So when you get it finished, so I want to show you what I did down here. I also marked the center back of my skin, and I laid it in half, put my pen on the inside, and just kind of like ran my pen down the center back line all the way. So like I said, if I was going to take out that hard, coarse center back fur that, you know, is real spiky, I'd start probably just about even with the front of the front paw, and coming right down the center, I'd slice it, and then I'd just kind of like do a 1/2 inch on each side until when you fold your fur back, and you can check the hair length, what you like and what you don't like, and on that center back, and see that you've got enough cut out. So what I did down here at the back leg area where it's thin is we're going to take this section out. And so I folded that, ran my pen on the inside of the leather so it marked what I need to remove. And then right here you can see how this hair changes color. I don't want to cut that off. I want to keep that. And where the hair changes color here, I don't want to cut this off I want to keep that. I'm going to take this wedge out. So I mark that with my pen by folding it back and getting a good line. And this is what it looks like. So, I don't know, it kind of looks like some kind of creature. But yeah, you're coming down here, and I'm removing this, and I'm removing this. This was those areas where the nipples were. I just snipped those out. This was a hole, so don't worry about that. And I also marked the kind of like the natural fall line of the belly, coming down from that front paw area all the way down to where this is. So this is technically like the belly, and this area is the back, going across to the belly side on the other side. So when you stretch this and we get that sewn up, you don't want to pull on the belly because the belly's thin. You want to pull on the back. You want to get the best stretch out of this center back. So now what we're going to do is, I've got both sides marked. I'm going to cut this area out, and where that thin area is, I cut out the that hard crusty, you know, thing from the penis that was there, and got rid of that. So sometimes, you know, it's a female skin and you don't have to worry about it. But what we're going to do is I'm going to cut this out, and then I'm going to show you how I sew it up. So here we are. You can see where the center back is. And what I trimmed out after I folded that and found my line that I wanted to stay on is a shape kind of like this. It's comes down, kind of like a crescent, and then it swoops back up, and I stay in that gray area of that front of that rear leg, and then it comes down and goes kind of like a little back up. So this is what I'm taking out, and what I'm going to do when I sew this is I'm going to join this side across. I'm going to join this side up to that, like that, and then I'm going to come back right from that notch and go over. So it's going to look like this when I get done. And it looks kind of weird, but it will wet and nail out nice and smooth. So from the hair side, I think it looks pretty darn good. Okay? So that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is where you take and you go up. Usually we've got our front leg closed, and you start right behind the first nipple, and you come down, and we're going to take this piece down. We're going to cut this at a diagonal, kind of like coming down. You're going to mark it, and you're going to cut it, come down like this, and you're going to take this to that point that we found, and then you're going to take that piece and you're going to move this down into this pocket, and this is going to be trimmed off kind of like that, so this area is going to be gone. And when you get done with that, you're going to have a repair that looks kind of like this one, where I came up, took it off just below that side off, just kind of like, that's where the end of that front paw fix was. So I started about this side of the front paw, about right here, this area, and I trimmed this off, coming all the way down to meet, you know, that bald area that we had here, and then scooped it like a little curve over to this lower flank. So I moved that piece down and in and sewed it. So I usually start like right here, sew it up, and then I close it from this area going down and around. And that looks good too. So it all depends on you know, each one's a little different. Some I have to do one way, some I have to do the other way. But when this gets nailed out, they both look pretty equally as nice. So once you get that part of your skin prepped, then the next thing is you always look for holes. This one had a damage up here. I have to check the margins on that. And you can fold it back and see what they're like. I might have to trim this back a little bit, just a wee bit. And you check for holes, you check for little marks. If there's a mark you want to go over, you want to feel that. You want to feel what the front side looks like and see if there's a bad area underneath the hair that you need to trim out. And then when you take off your faces, usually I start and I go across the ears. So it would be across the ears about right here. And then here's your jawline coming. And I usually like to taper this and go up to the jawline point on each side. And that's where I cut my face off. So some people cut it straight off across the ears. But I find that if I cut it at a taper like this, I can pull this part of the skin down when I'm nailing, and I get extra width across my, across the neck of my fur. So anyway, what we're going to do after I get these all damaged out, I have 39 to do. After I get these done, I'm going to show you how we nail them.